Okay, so good afternoon. I'm Beth Sarmiento. I'm the ACE Recruitment Consultant, and I would like to welcome everyone for today's webinar hosted by Southland Hospital. And for today's webinar, employers will be discussing about the recruitment processes, the training, the rostering and allocation. And after that, the RMOs will be talking about their experiences, their onboarding experiences, and other house office teaching. And then last part would be the question and answer session where everyone, all the attendees are given the chance to send their questions via the Q&A function on Zoom. With that, we can proceed with the presentation. I would like to turn over to the panelists for the introduction.
Thanks, Beth. Kia ora, everyone. My name's Rhonda Skilling. I'm the RMO Unit Manager for Te Whatuwhiti Southern, which means I've got responsibility for the Southland Hospital. So before we get started with our presentation, I'll go around the table and we'll do some introductions so you know who's talking to you. Plus, we also have one member of the panel who's also online, but we'll go around the table. So, Kerry, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. Yes, my name's Kerry Lamb. I am the team leader for the RMO unit here in Southland Hospital.
Cool. Heather?
Hi, I'm Heather Wicks. I'm an RMO advisor here at Southland.
Awesome. My name's Kayla Gardine. I'm one of the house officers, currently a PGY2.
And Dr. Catherine Forward, who's online.
Hi, Catherine Forwards. I'm the Director of Pre-Vocational Training for Southern, so that covers Southland Hospital.
Great. Thanks, Catherine. Beth, if we could start our presentation, please. Okay, if we could go to the next page. Okay, so a little bit about us. As a person who actually lives in Dunedin, I'm quite privileged to say that I really enjoy coming down here to visit. My experience of watching how Southland Hospital functions is it's a great place to work. It's a great community. The RMOs, in comparison to some other hospitals, have great work-life balance, and so get opportunities to go and do things in their time off and can get away from work on at a really good time in most cases. We're a secondary level based hospital, and so with this, the RMOs enjoy quite a broad range of cases that come through the door. It's a relatively newish facility in comparison to other places, and so it has been built with more modern needs in mind. We serve about 108,000 population. Some of our patients live locally, and some of them live in really challenging places to get to and from, such as Stewart Island, over in Queenstown, over in Fiordland, and so it's quite a broad range of issues that our patients have, and trying to get them in and trying to see them can also be quite a challenge. Kayla, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, just agree that Southland is an awesome place to work. It's super, super collegial. And being a smaller centre, most people do get to know you and you get to know everybody else as well, which is really helpful just in terms of referrals and things within the hospital, but also just helpful for day-to-day understanding on who you're referring patients to and who you're going to chat with. And yeah, our rural patients definitely add to the complexity of care sometimes. I'm working an O&G run at the moment, and we have a lot of our pregnant women based up in Queenstown, and that does add complexity when there's complications in pregnancy, and you've got to think a lot about transfers, and we use a lot of helicopter and other modes and other things that potentially other centres don't too. So yeah, lots of complex things with being rural for our patients.
Okay. Next page, thanks, Beth.
Living in Invercargill is great. The opportunities to follow your preferred lifestyle are endless. We have a very good cafe and restaurant scene, which would cover fairly much all options. We have a new hotel which was opened here at the end of last year, which also has 3 or 4 restaurants within that. Arete Beach is a 10-minute drive away from the centre of the city, and between here and there is a semi-rural area called Otatara, and within that there is many outdoor leisure pursuits undertaken, like many sports clubs, mountain bike trails and whatever. Within the city itself, it would be a maximum of 20-minute drive from one end to the other, and we are very flat. We don't have any hills here at all. So commuting to work is a breeze, really, because you probably would be 5 to 10 minutes away, or biking, whatever. We have Queen's Park in the centre of the city. It's New Zealand known, beautiful park, covers 80 hectares, and yeah, it's a lot of people spend a lot of relaxing time there. We just have had a new mall open within the centre of town, which takes up a whole block, and within that mall there's many food outlets and very yes, quite a significant amount of well-known brand shops. So the retail side of things in Invercargill here is very good. With regard to driving away from the city, of course, possibly if you studied the area, you will know that we have everything basically on our doorstep, with a maximum of around about 2 hours drive. Although if you're driving to Wanaka, that is about just over 3 hours. But you've got Fiordland, you've got Queenstown, Milford Sound, of course, within Fiordland, Catlins, and then of course you can either fly or boat over to Stewart Island. So if you're an outdoors person and enjoys nature, certainly you've got everything here at your doorstep. Yeah, the opportunities really are limitless, to be fair, and yeah, great to bring up children, and yeah, very friendly city.
I guess I just want to reiterate too, everything Heather's said, and a lot of RMOs in the hospital live within 5 or 10 minutes of work, a lot bike most days, and when the weather is bad there is always free parking just outside the door, which is quite major. A lot of centres don't have that, and you have the added challenge of working out how to park your car and get into work in a timely manner. Also housing and rent and things down here is quite affordable as well, and a number of PGY1s in my year purchased their first house last year as well, which is not something that's easy to do in a lot of other centres. So yeah, and lots of shared flats, yeah, lots of shared social groups as well. So as a RMO group, we have a pretty good social life, and Invercargill's yeah, retail and food scene is expanding all the time, which is quite exciting. It wasn't like that probably 5-6 years ago, so things are getting better all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a cool place to live.
Okay. Next page, thanks, Beth. So just a little bit about the role. I'll give a little bit of an overview, and then Kayla will provide a bit more in-depth information. So we've got quite a few runs available. So normally a PGY1 house officer will be allocated to either general medicine, general surgery, orthopaedics, and then ATNR after the completion of 6 months. There's, apart from the orthopaedics and the ATR, there's several teams within each of those services. So some of the consultants will have slightly different specialties in mind, and so you'll get a different experience even working across 2 teams, even if you're in the same service. From PGY2, we've got quite a lot of options available. As Kayla said, she's an O&G. We've also got paediatrics, ED, psychiatry. We have a really great ED trauma orthopedics run. So if you're a budding orthopod, that's a really awesome run to get exposure in. The community-based attachments, and of course those reliever runs. What we do is we do seek your preferences for your runs, and that includes your first year runs. We can't guarantee you'll all get your first choice in case everyone wants the same thing, but we will try and make it possible so that you do get as many of the preferences as you put down. And just with regards to support on site, we've got registrars working in all of the above specialties, excluding psychiatry. So there's always reg support available as well. Kayla.
Yeah. So just to elaborate a bit more on the teams within the different PGY1 specialties. So all of Gen Med is sort of led by Gen Med consultant physicians. So they're generalists, but a lot of them also have subspecialty training as well. So there's a couple of respiratory consultants, ones with cardiology special interest as well, and renal and endocrine. So sometimes you get a little bit of a flavour of that, depending on, you know, what the consultant's special interest is. But that being said, Gen Med is always true Gen Med. And I always really enjoyed that about PGY1, you know, with your rounds, they were very broad, and you'd see a varied range of patients, which I think is quite useful as a junior, rather than being in quite a focused specialty run like respiratory medicine, where you only see respiratory patients for 3 months. So it's quite good to see the interconnection of the different systems and to think quite broadly on Gen Med runs. In terms of the surgical side of things, so the different teams are split into breast and endocrine teams, the colorectal, cervix, and urology. And then we kind of juggle a bit of an acute roster within that too. And so as a team of house officers, we sort of rotate around those teams and roles, but you normally are specifically assigned to one team at a time. But that is a little bit flexible. So you get quite good exposure in Gen Surg as well to a broad range of things. And then when it comes to orthopedics, there's normally a couple of house officers that are on that run, and it is true general orthopedics. We do a lot of trauma ortho, but some of our consultants also have special interest in things like arthroplasty and revision arthroplasty as well. And we also have a pelvic specialist too. So he deals with a lot of the pelvic fractures, and he actually does a lot of that for the whole region. So patients will come from Dunedin and elsewhere to have pelvic surgeries here in Southland under his care. And then he also has a pediatric special interest too. So you kind of get these different things dotted in amongst all the usual orthopedic stuff as well. And then I guess just to broaden out into PGY2, I'm on a 6-month rotation in O&G at the moment, and that's a shared house officer reg roster. And so you do get a lot of experience and exposure quite quickly. You hold on-call phones, but you've always got reg and consultant support. So it does push you and challenge you to do more, but I've had an awful lot of procedural experience already, which I think is something that you don't get as a house officer in a lot of other centres, particularly big ones too. And my understanding is pediatrics is very much the same. ED is a super supportive unit to be in, and always quite popular in PGY2, but it's because it's such a great place to learn. And then the ED trauma orthopedic role, that's often picked up by people who do have special interest in ortho, and quite often they develop a relationship with the ortho department. And so far, all of the ortho and ED roles that I've seen, those people have moved on to registrar roles in the following year with our centre. So I guess it depends a little bit on what you want to do and what your long-term career prospects are, but Invercargill is a great way to get a really broad view of a whole range of different specialties. And if you already have a bit of a leaning to one subspecialty, I think exposure here in Invercargill is a really good place to get that broad experience, to really get hands-on rather than to just be the house officer doing the paperwork. And also, I think you get a lot of support when it comes to getting on training programs and things too. So that's a pretty awesome centre, for career planning, regardless of what you want to do, I think.
Thanks, Kayla. Just before we go to the next stage, or we can stay on this slide if you like, Beth, I just wondered if Dr. Forward would like to make comment. I see you sitting in the background there.
Yeah, no, I think Kayla's covered it really nicely. So one of the key benefits of Invercargill being that smaller centre is that you do get to have a really broad experience, and there are lots of opportunities that are available to house officers in Southland, which are not available in the larger centres. So for someone who does want to get a little bit more of that practical exposure, it's a really great option.
Thanks, Catherine. Next page. Thanks, Beth. So this slide's just a little bit about what the rosters look like. So the medicine and surgical roster is basically the same roster because the relievers work across the two, and some of the relievers do. But so as a rule of thumb, sort of 8 till 4, some of the surgical and orthopedics may be asked to come in at 7:30. We have slightly different long days for medicine versus surgical, and we also have a medical evenings shift. So technically we have Monday to Friday 2 on for medicine in the evenings. As would be expected, we don't roster house officers to nights for their first 6 months. I've noted the night shift times there, which corresponds to the weekend shift. So here, the weekend shifts go from 8 till 8:30, whereas some of the other centres, they go through to 11 p.m. and that's then you do a couple of extra hours on the night shift, but I understand that's possibly more palatable because of the frequency in which you do nights versus weekends. Regular formal and informal teaching is always on offer. I'm going to put Kayla on the spot in a minute because I know she's part of the team that organises teaching. So we do have teaching at the moment on a Thursday afternoon from 1 till 4. And I guess from my perspective, working in Southland Hospital, you get out of it what you put in. And so there's lots of opportunities to do extra things. So Kayla's part of a team that's looking at teaching and helping organise the teaching. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, there's opportunities to do and follow through on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So our teaching roster covers all of the basic things that our medical council sets out. It would be required for PGY1 and PGY2. It's always generally in-person, face-to-face teaching. Covers a range of different specialties as well. We get the different Gen Med and Gen Surg consultants to come in and chat, some of the subspecialists as well. The geriatricians come in and work with us. It's always quite a potpourri of different things. It's designed to be generally engaging and to involve you as well. So it's not just sitting watching a lecture or a presentation. We do try and make it as hands-on as possible. We also have access to a pretty awesome simulation suite here at Southland Hospital, which is utilised by the nursing schools and peds and midwifery teams as well. And that's like just a 2-minute walk away. And that has some pretty advanced sim stuff, and we usually do that pretty early on in the year too, and also that suite gets used for like your ACLS updates as well. But yeah, so it's normally a bit of all sorts, but we do try our best to make it engaging, and we'd be very excited to have more people on the team for planning teaching, and we take feedback as well on what you want to learn about during the year too, where you feel your gaps and your needs are. So it's not a locked in revolving roster. There is flexibility in that too. So yeah, a lot of fun. In terms of the long days as well, a lot of people wonder what happens on a long day. So when you're on the medicine long day till 8 o'clock, that actually includes a 4-hour admitting shift from 4 till 8 o'clock. So you go down to ED and you actually clerk patients in with the reg. So really good opportunity for exposure and for some critical thinking. And then the other, like the evening shift on medicine and the surgical long day are more ward work, dealing with ward calls that you would expect in any centre after hours. So yeah, that's what those long days look like.
Thanks, Kayla. Catherine, did you want to comment on the teaching?
I think Kayla's already got it all covered.
I know she's awesome, isn't
Sorry.
she? Thank you. Next page, thanks, Beth. So career options, we've got vocational training in the specialties noted there on the screen. Depending on which way you're interested in heading, you can join the training program from here, or you need to apply. Just again, it depends on your career aspirations. If you're interested in a particular specialty to train in, the consultants here are really, really keen to hear from you and are really interested in working with you to help improve your chances of actually getting to where you want to get to. Career aspirations come into the run preferences, and so we will always try And if you're wanting to do a specific a specific career, we'll try and get the runs in place so that will improve your chances of getting in, but also increase your exposure to that particular area. So you can actually make sure that that's the area that you want to go into. I don't know if Catherine or Kayla wanted to comment a little more on that. Catherine? I'm picking on Kayla at the moment.
No, yeah, I think everyone's just covering everything before you get to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to add anything?
No, just
No?
other than our teams are really supportive. I know if you want to be a med reg, you liaise with general medicine, they set you up as best as possible, to get into those runs or to have the best exposure as a house officer with different consultants to feed into that. The same's with general surgery. And I know if you certainly want to stay in Southland, they get extra excited. And yeah, your chances of getting those kinds of runs increase exponentially.
Yeah,
as it does in any centre when they think they're going to be able to keep you. So that's good.
And just as a bit of an FYI, we've probably just this year, not including annual changeover, there's probably of our smaller team of house officers, there's probably been about 4 already, excluding annual recruitment cycle changeover, that have gone up to reg since the start of the year. So there are always opportunities and not just at changeover time. So there are lots of opportunities there. Next slide, please. So we're big on support here. First year is pretty tough. Second year can also be tough. RMO jobs are pretty tough. You work hard hours, you do a lot of work, you're running around like mad things during the day. And so we have a whole heap of support structures available to you, regardless of the level that you are. As a pre-vocational trainee, we've got 3 education supervisors. So we've got Dr. Adam McClay, who is an ED specialist and also medical director of the hospital. We've got Dr. Anthony Buddle, who's also an ED specialist, and he's the clinical director of ED. And we've got Miss Mavis Orizu, who is a general surgeon. So we've got quite a broad group of education supervisors who are absolutely awesome to work with. They're readily available and will always step in and come and see you and support you and provide you with advice if that's what you're looking for. Catherine, even though she is in Dunedin, is always available if you ring or email her. Like me, she's often in Invercargill, so if you're wanting a personal catch-up, that's available. We've got the RMO unit team. So these guys here, I'm here once a month. We have a pre-vocational educational training and management committee, which consists of house officer representatives and the education supervisors, as well as the RMO unit. So any one of those members are available. You've got your unions, you've got the rest of your team members, medical directors, service managers, charge nurses. So it's vast. We also have other agencies such as Speak Up and Vitae. So Vitae is our employee assistance program. Speak Up is an in-house system. If you are having trouble when you want to go and talk to somebody just for some advice, we've got that. And we also have an awesome tuakana tainer program where members of the team are easily identifiable by a symbol on their badges and are available to answer questions or provide advice support to the person that's asking. Catherine, did you want to cover anything first on this?
No, so I think that's the key thing is that, we've got lots of supports in place, and it's really just about reaching out if you need anything. So, there's lots of different places, lots of different things we've got set up. It's really just about if you need help. And often a fair proportion of our house officers in Invercargill may have moved from somewhere else in the country. So there can always be that sort of settling in period. And it's just remembering that everyone's there to help you and everyone wants you to have a great time. So if you needed anything, you just reach out.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just to add to that, I've been in Invercargill since I was a TI, so this is my 3rd year sort of working on the floor here. I've found it an incredibly supportive centre to be in, right from team support through to a lot of our allied health colleagues as well. Everybody wants the best for our patients and works as a team, which is really cool. And the culture of a lot of our wards, again, is very open, very friendly. We've got fabulous like ward nurse managers and allied health teams that will link in with you. I don't know, it's a great place to work. I can't reiterate that enough. I found it really, really supportive.
I echo that as an outsider looking in, because I'm only here once a month. I'm always not surprised, but I'm pleased to see the collegiality and the sense of community that's within the hospital. Everyone knows each other. Everyone's keeping an eye out for each other. Everyone's based closely to each other. And it's a really supportive environment to live and work in.
It's the beauty of just being a smaller place, I think, where everyone does know everyone, and that's kind of nice.
It is. Yeah. Next slide, thanks. So just a little bit extra about us. We currently have community-based attachments as part of your pre-vocational training in Invercargill, Gore and Bluff. So in Invercargill, we've got currently got a run in the hospice. Gore, we have Gore Medical Centre and Gore Hospital, and Bluff, we have Bluff Medical Centre. One of the really awesome things, if you are a Southland employee can access, but not if you're a Dunedin employee, i.e. me, is there's holiday homes in Queenstown, Arrowtown and Tino, which are available at a really good rate.
$65 a night.
There you go.
They're up to 10 people. So dirt cheap.
Absolutely unfair that Dunedin can't access it. We have annual excellence awards, which are a really good way of getting involved and recognising contribution towards the improvement for things for the hospital, for our patients, that kind of thing. This year, the RMO unit was nominated for being Team of the Year, so it's great to see this kind of thing coming forward. As Kayla stated, we have a real state-of-the-art sim centre, and it's a really awesome place to do some training. It's also, as Kayla said, she's obviously read these slides before I have written them. There are awesome team events and social events for hospital staff. There's always something happening. There's always everyone, some people going off to Queenstown for a weekend or going somewhere else. There's sports teams, whatever takes your fancy, there's something available. And really friendly here, absolutely friendly. I was saying to somebody today from Scotland, the further south you go, the friendlier we are. So since we're at the bottom, we're really friendly. Did you guys want to add anything?
I can only reiterate that, really, very much so. And yeah, it's a great place to be.
Yeah. And lots of those teams and things, a lot of them are really multidisciplinary too. I play netball with the OTs and physios, a couple of other RMOs. It's a lot of fun. Really good.
Next slide, thanks. So the nitty-gritty, to make an application, include in your cover letter why you want to work in Southland. We do need a cover letter, please. And as I've recently, if you've seen me present to the Dunedin webinar, you'll note my biggest piece of advice is to choose your referees carefully. And also, when you're writing a cover letter, please make sure you address it to Southland. Please don't say, "Dear Auckland, I'd love to come and work in Southland." You'd be surprised how many people get that wrong, and it just shows that potentially there might be an attention to detail issue. So please make sure you get that right. We are happy to meet you in advance. I've been taking emails and calls from people. You can either pop in and visit us if you're able to, or we can catch up through Teams or through email, through phone. It's ideal if we get to know you and meet you and understand why you want to come and work with us, as that improves our opportunity to rank you in the right spot. Our selection criteria is we use the ACE spreadsheet, so that includes information about references and things like that, and we will adjust the ranking to allow for those who have contacted us, and we will always review the applications of candidates who are Māori or Pacifica. One of the things I forgot to put in there is if you are a Murihuku scholarship recipient, we do need to know that in your letter as well, please. If you are on a delayed start, can't start in January, please let us know. Please also contact us so we can work through what that would look like for you. And currently we have 10 positions that we will be looking to recruit to. Catherine, whoops, she's gone. Unfortunately, Catherine had another meeting. So Catherine's part of the team that assesses the applications, as is Kayla and the rest of the RMO unit team. I don't know if you guys had any advice for the candidates.
No, just to be clear and where your preferences are, and yes, we will certainly look at each one very carefully.
Yeah. So those who assess the application, so say it's the members of the RMO unit, Catherine is the medical director, Kayla is our representative, and the other education supervisors. So there is quite a broad group of people who will be reviewing your application. So as I say, please in your cover letter outline why you want to work here. You shouldn't note down, and you're under no obligation to note down that you're choosing us first or anything else like that. Remember, it is a blind match, but we do want to understand your reasons for coming to work in Southland. Next slide, please. So this is an opportunity for Kayla to tell you how things are. She's probably told you quite a few things already, so I'm not quite sure what else she has to add, but take the floor.
No, I really don't think I do have much more to add, other than I love being a house officer here in Southland. I don't know if there's any people, is this open to questions?
It will be in
a little bit.
Very, very shortly.
Cool, maybe that'll be the best opportunity. If there's things that I've missed or burning questions that people have, they can fire them at me. But I think we've covered things pretty
awesome.
thoroughly.
No, you've done really well. Okay, so that's us, Beth. We're now ready for the Q&A.
We don't actually have questions yet.
No.
Oh, there just came in. Okay. Question is, with regards to the postgraduate study while you're in PGY2, what's the process for this? Time, demand while you're working? Also, where are you located in Southland Hospital?
So we would regularly support house officers in their second year to do the postgraduate diplomas, and in some cases we'll support things like basic crisp asset, that kind of thing. There is a bit of a process to follow to enroll and get permission to do that, but we go through that at orientation. It's not too hard, but it is quite a specific process. We have a few that are doing the PEDS diploma. I think it's just the PEDS diploma that has evenings. Yours doesn't have evenings.
No, ours has evenings too.
Yeah, so Kayla might be able to make comment about being able to attend the evening conferences. But before we go to Kayla, with regards to where we're located, so we're in the clinical admin area, which is a closed area of the hospital. A lot of the medical staff, the service manager staff, the medical secretaries in the RMO room is up here. So it's not open to the public, but if anyone wants to come and see us, we can make a time and we'll let them in. Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of postgrad study, I'm currently doing the ONG postgrad diploma through Otago. So that includes a couple of block residentials as well as evening lectures that go from like 6 till 8 every second week. Basically, my rostering is such that I don't do long days on those nights when I'm doing my diploma lectures. And the RMO unit assist with my leave and booking of flights and accommodation for my residentials as well. And as Rhonda says, that's all included in that process of funding to cover your course fees and to cover the course-related costs that come along with that. As with any diploma or study, there is probably differing levels of commitment and time required with it. I do find the ONG diploma is pretty full on. We do have a lot of assignments and things like that due every other week, but it is good to be doing it whilst in the midst of a run. There is opportunity to do that as long as it fits within what would be a standard PGY2 course. Yeah.
Actually, there is no other questions, but I'd like to ask questions on behalf of the applicants, which I keep on getting. Sometimes I just get emails every now and then asking for this one. although ACE has always been very clear and has always been encouraging applicants to provide 3 references from 3 different placements. However, in some situations, there are students that are in a situation where they have difficulty getting 3 references from 3 different placements. So they sometimes come up with 2 referees from 1 placement plus additional placement. So how is your take on that in terms of assessment?
Remind me, does the ACE rules say that, business rules say that that's acceptable?
It doesn't say that it is not acceptable, but ACE is encouraging them to, as much as possible, to submit 3 different references from 3 different placements.
Yeah, for me, it's probably something that I would need to double check my answer with Dr. Forward, because the clinical staff will normally, while the RMO unit staff look at the applications and contribute towards the final decision, the clinical staff opinions on the applications probably carry more weight than ours. I would imagine the answer would be, if at all possible, try and get the 3 different ones, but noting that it's not always easy, especially now we've gone back to electives and things like that. And so if you do have to have 2 from the same service, I think it should be acceptable. However, what I would encourage is noting in your cover letter why you've done that, so that it's really open, really transparent about why you've actually felt that the need to do that. So then the people that are assessing the application will have an understanding rather than make up their mind or make an assumption about why you've done it.
That's good input. Thank you so much for that, Rhonda.
That's right.
I might be able to advise some of them as well. Okay, another question that it keeps on coming, not in my email, but sometimes it keeps on hearing from the other webinars. How about the leave application approval?
Okay, so leave goes through the RMO unit. So one of the things we didn't say at the beginning is Kerry is going to be your go-to guy. So his portfolio is the house officers. Once you split off into your second year, then Heather takes over responsibility for some of the house officer groups. As a rule of thumb, depending on how we're going with our reliever numbers, either 2 or 3 can be offered any one time off the medical surgical house officer roster. And so we will, if there is a significant situation that somebody needs time off, or when there isn't leave available, we will always consider. The example that I use, if it's your Nana's 100th birthday and you need to get time off for that, then we're not going to say no. Well, we shouldn't be saying no. Part of our decision-making process with regards to if we don't have enough relievers is we have to check with the service, because we don't have the mandate to run a service short. So it would be useful to discuss your needs with your service if you're absolutely desperately needing leave. I don't think there's too many times that we have to decline leave, and if we do, we will always try and offer some other options available so that people can get some time off. We do encourage house officers to take a forward view on their leave and to think about leave for the entire year. Because one of the things is, as I talked about before, is that the job is really tough, doing some long hours, and so it's nice to know you've got some leave coming up. And then that way, if you apply early, you're more likely to be assured that there is capacity there for leave. But it's a fairly simple process. We do ask that people get their leave applications in early, because the earlier they can be, the sooner we can give an answer and things like that. And we have less people to communicate with if they're in early. Kayla, I don't know if you want to make any comment.
No, just to reiterate that, and maybe just to make mention of the ballot process that happens around like Easter, Christmas time.
Yeah. So Easter for Southland is quite an exciting time, because Southland anniversary is actually added to Easter. So instead of it being a 4-day weekend, it's a 5-day weekend. And so that's a very popular time for leave, as is Christmas. So to make it fair for everybody, we run a ballot process. So at certain times of the year, we'll call for registrations of interest to have leave at those 2 times. And we will then assess all applications together so that we can, everyone gets an opportunity to be considered for leave. We'll take into consideration leave balances, leave up to that point, whether or not that kind of leave was granted the year before. So it's about being fair to everyone. Sometimes with Christmas, somebody may have applied for 2 weeks over Christmas, but we might only be able to give 1 week. So we'll come back with some options and try and fit the leave in so that everybody gets some time off. Thanks, Kayla.
Another question.
Oh, bye, Bodine.
Oh, sorry, it's okay. It's not a question, but okay. Apart from the intention, the genuine intention of wanting to work with Southland Hospital, and of course the ACE scoring, what other competencies are you looking for when it comes to assessing your applicants?
It's for those that watched the Dunedin webinar, where it's similar. We're looking for all-rounders. We're looking for people who will fit into how we are here at Southland. We're wanting people who are team players, who are keen to live here. It is really important that you're keen to live and work here because, it is smaller, and if you're really after the city lights, then that's fine. But yeah, we're looking for all-rounders, people who are great at communicating, people who have got great clinical skills, who are great at making relationships. We're looking for that kind of person. And so the more you can portray that in your application, the better. Thank you.
And if that sounds like you love working in a team, supporting your colleagues, sometimes if you're a little bit less busy as a house officer on a day and you're happy to help your other colleague who's post-take and is slammed, get those discharge summaries done, and you're one of those people, that's extra cool. That is the culture we have here in Southland, that you all help each other out. And if you love the outdoors and things like that too, this will make this an even better place to live. Our tramping, our hiking, our skiing, mountain biking and everything like that is brilliant. So if you're into those things as your hobbies, rather than the bright city lights, that'll make Southland a much more suited centre for you.
You mentioned earlier that housing is affordable. And is it also easy to find a house to rent there?
Yeah, it is. And we have a number of Facebook groups and WhatsApp chats as well, which we add new doctors onto as well. Quite often, especially around reg changeovers and at the beginning of the year, a lot of rental houses go up on that as well. So it's just a matter of messaging the RMO unit and getting connected with myself or some of the other doctors to get added onto some of those chats. But also, I'm pretty sure the Trade Me market down here for rentals is not too bad as well, and all pretty transparent with pricing and what's involved in that too. But yeah, a lot of RMOs do share flats together, and the standard of housing is pretty great as well. It's not like student flatting. The houses are warm, they're insulated, they've got good heating, they've got gardens. A lot of them let you have your animals. Obviously very much rental dependent, but that's the experience I've seen with colleagues' homes. Yeah. Okay.
Just one last question. You mentioned earlier that parking is okay, that the location of the hospital is very, very good.
Yeah.
I just want to know, are there other hospital amenities available? I mean, cafe, locker, sleeping room for doctors.
So we have lockers in the RMO room. We don't yet have proper dedicated sleeping facilities, but there are some plans looking at that. There aren't like some other centres, childcare centres or anything else like that, but everything is really in close proximity. So as say the Otara that Heather was talking about is like 5-10 minutes from the hospital. So yeah, there's amenities really, really close.
And like the RMO room does have a couch that's not too bad, and another one that will open out flat as well. So like there is opportunity to sleep. Orthopedics has a really good couch. But yeah, so there is places that you can rest your head if you're lucky enough to have a quiet shift on a night or something like that. But yeah, no actual designated sleep space.
Okay, I'll just check this one. I don't know. Oh, he doesn't have any question, but he's thanking everyone. Okay, that would be all. Any last piece of advice for our applicant for this year's intake?
Just good luck. It's a big process for you wherever you end up, whether it's here or whether it's Dunedin or whether it's somewhere else in the country. I think we all wish you all the very best, and we hope that your first year goes really, really well.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Okay, thank you very much for your support to ACE RMO, and I would like to thank you everyone for giving this for your time for today. And I would like also to wish our applicants all the best for their application for this year's intake. Thank you and bye-bye.